Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 33-year-old Georgia resident Jack Whitton headed to the Lower West Terrace Tunnel on January 6th, and I'm going to have a very hard time trying not to go into my Stewie Griffin impression because all I can think of with his name is Will Wheaton. Will Whitton. Will Wheaton. Anyway, all right, enough of that. The mob was being pushed back. They were being pushed back and down a set of stairs outside of this tunnel. It was around 4:30 p.m. when Whitton arrived. So he maneuvered through the crowd. He got up towards the front of the police line, and Whitton approached the mouth of the tunnel, grabbed a crutch from someone in the mob, and he started raising it over his head and slamming it down into the police line, like in a chopping motion. So Whitton's assault, combined with other simultaneous attacks by another member of the mob, really incited the mob at a time when the police had just regained some ground. They said that it was palpable, like you could see a complete shift. And the prosecutor said the crowd, quote, audibly changed, and other people rushed forward and they joined in with this attack. So they started throwing things at the police, hitting them with various objects after they had just gotten people somewhat calmed down. So Whitton approached the officers again, and this time one of them was able to take control of the crutch, so they got it away from him. So Whitton started grabbing at the officers and he kicked at them. And there's body cam footage showing that Whitton stomped on one of these officers who had fallen on the ground. Then Whitton grabbed another officer's baton and he started dragging this officer out of the tunnel. He dragged the officer over the one that he had just stomped on, the one that was on the ground. And at one point, Whitton grabbed the officer by the helmet and the back of his ballistic vest. And then, along with two other members of Trump's terrorists, they pulled the officer head first down a short flight of steps. So they pulled this officer into the mob. So that was the officer that you've probably seen. There's this infamous photo that we've all seen where he's lying face down on the steps and people are kicking him and hitting him with various items and, flagpoles, stolen batons, their hands, their feet. So officers grabbed one of this officer's legs. They were trying to pull him back to safety, but other members of the mob grabbed onto various parts of his body, and so they were basically in a tug of war over this officer. So eventually, another officer was pulled out of the tunnel. That officer was pulled over and on top of the officer that was laying down, face down on the steps. And about 20 minutes later, Whitton again approached the tunnel entrance. He flipped off the police. He kicked at them again. And then someone in the mob yelled at Whitton and other people to stop. Instead of stopping, though, Whitton ran back toward the officers again, kicked at them again, struck one of their riot shields, and he yelled, quote, "You're gonna die tonight." So sometime after that, Whitton was seen scaling the face of that tunnel. He climbed up to the Upper West Terrace, and officers up there were trying to clear the area. So Whitton was seen up there throwing some object at them. They didn't specify what it was, but they said some sort of object. He threw it at them. Then he reached over the railing and he was trying to punch them. So Whitton left the Capitol grounds sometime later. He bragged to his friend in a text message, quote, "Didn't actually get in the building, but everything else I was in the middle of." Then Whitton sent photos of one of his bloodied hands, and he wrote, quote, "This is from a bad cop. I fed him to the people. I don't know his status, and I don't care, to be honest." And then Whitton also bragged about his violence online, but of course, he made himself out to be a hero and a protector. In a social media post, he shared a photo of his bloodied hand again, and he wrote, quote, "The cop that sprayed the old vet in the wheelchair beat my ass with his face." There was no vet in a wheelchair. Okay, none that the prosecutor mentioned. So Whitton was arrested on April 1st of 2021, and in a superseding indictment, he was charged with 3 counts of assaulting officers, one of which included an enhancement for inflicting bodily injury, and then another one included a deadly or dangerous weapon enhancement. He also was charged with 2 counts of civil disorder, entering restricted grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, disorderly conduct on restricted grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, and 2 counts of physical violence, one of which, again, included a deadly or dangerous weapon enhancement. So in September of 2022, Whitton pleaded guilty to 1 count of assaulting officers with a deadly or dangerous weapon. So he was facing up to 20 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. And this time, the prosecutor requested a substantial sentence. They asked for 97 months in prison, so just over 8 years. And they also asked for 3 years of probation, $2,000 in restitution, and a $61,685 fine. Now, that large fine represents the amount of money that he has raised on Give, Send, Go. And they said that Whitton has disabled the fundraising page, but he's asking for direct donations to be sent to the prison where he's being held. But Whitton's girlfriend is saying all of the money that they raised is gone. They said that it was all used for Whitton's legal defense, also travel expenses, I'm assuming back and forth to D.C. They paid for a psych evaluation, also items that he's purchased while he's been in prison. So she claims it's not there. We don't have it. You can ask for it, but we don't have it. As for Whitton's criminal history, the prosecutor says he has 2 previous misdemeanor convictions, and then he had 1 additional arrest, but they didn't elaborate about what any of them were, why, he was arrested, why he was convicted. At the sentencing hearing, Whitton told the judge, quote, "I tell you with confidence, I have changed." And according to Whitton's attorney, he says Whitton wasn't even interested in Trump or politics when he went and beat the hell out of the police. His attorney said, it was a combination of his ADHD medication and alcohol. And he said, Whitton only went because of his girlfriend. She asked him to. He wanted to be a good boyfriend. And then Whitton reiterated that during his sentencing. So, yeah, I'm not buying it, but he told the judge he's never been a political person. And he said, quote, "I've never been a troublemaker. I've always been a hard worker and a law-abiding citizen." So U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras presided over Whitton's case, and he said he watched all the videos of Whitton attacking officers, and the judge told Whitton, quote, "Those videos were gruesome. You really were out of control." When all was said and done, the judge sentenced Whitton to only 57 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. There was no mention of a fine, so it doesn't appear that the judge ordered anything. This is just BS. This is complete and total BS. Judge Contreras is hopelessly weak. And no, he is not a Trump appointee. He is an Obama pick, another weak Obama pick. It is just unbelievable to me that this guy was so out of control, so violent, and he gets less than 5 years. But you have other January 6 convicts who weren't violent and they received more time. There is no consistency. This guy should have received one of the longest sentences for how out of control he was. And I'm not buying the whole non-political spiel. Right? You go from being non-political to beating up the police during a political protest and telling them they're going to die tonight. Really? And I know people who are on ADHD medication. They don't go ballistic and start beating up cops when they have alcohol. It's not a good combination, but it doesn't cause them to lose their freaking minds. And, let's say, okay, he had a bad combo, right? Meds and alcohol, maybe it did affect him. Maybe he drank far too much and it was really the alcohol. The alcohol wore off at some point. Why was he still boasting about his violent crimes online and in text messages well after the fact? So, again, I'm not buying it. I think Contreras got duped. Anyway, I will let you all know when or if I hear more, but yeah, he will not be voting for Trump this November. At least that's for certain. All right. Thank you all. Love you all. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Have a great weekend. Take care. Talk with you soon.